One.
I'll switch with it. I don't know. I said, I'll,
That's okay.
I really didn't do it on purpose this time.
It's a lot of fun, but so cool.
All right. Okay, at this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda to speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Okay. Presentation and discussion of department head, committee, and board reports. Handed out ones you didn't have. For EMS and welfare, yes. Any discussion, any questions about any of them? Good report, Nancy, thank you. Well, yeah. And all the others who put together the reports did a very good job.
Makes it a lot easier to understand.
Sure. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to old business. Court to consider approval of previous court minutes, unless anybody had any questions on any of that.
There's a make a motion that we approve the court minutes as presented.
Okay, I just see one change
Okay,
under number 5 on the first page.
Okay.
To
I
be.
handed them.
Oh.
I gotta make myself small copies. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay. Love those typos.
Yeah,
Spell check didn't catch that one.
right. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor? Court discuss discuss and consider inter-precinct project schedule and staffing. The country club is gone. Looks good. It's clean. Orange Crew's gonna go and finish up a little bit that's laying around, like some that's stuck in a tree in the middle of all the branches, so. Anything else that y'all need to discuss?
Working, trying to get it done.
The issues, breaking stuff later because they commissioner report, so I'll break it to the loader.
Okay. Anything further?
Doing what we do.
Very good. All right, court to conduct a public hearing to consider the modification of speed limits on the following county roads or a portion thereof listed below. County Road 1101, County Road 1105, County Road 4131, and Camp Springs Road. And we'll open that at 10:05. You kind of give us a rundown.
Yes.
I tried last time, but I can't do it justice like you can.
Okay. And so we have several roads that have a lot of truck traffic, especially with the solar farm. On most of these, the 4131 is oil field traffic, not talking about anything but the first mile on 4131. That's all that I actually maintain. And so I don't have anything to do with the rest of 4131. That would be up to the commissioner of that precinct to bring that to us if want to change that speed limit. But other than that, unless you have something about the first mile, but down to the bridge.
Just,
Then-
I just, if we're gonna lower, I just wanna know what we're doing, cause the other day when we went over this, it was gonna be lowered to 50,
55.
but that's a cleachy road, and it shouldn't be 50, it's not 55 to begin with.
Well, that first, well, 60 is what is the normal for a road that does not have a sign on it. That's state. So if you have a road that does not have a sign.
If they're
it's 60.
blacktop,
Well,
the state specifies that the blacktops are 60, cleachy road that specifies that they're 30.
that's my first on that one. You may be exactly right, but they're running 60 and 70
Correct.
for sure. And so that first mile is a 30, 40 foot wide caliche road, not dirt like the rest of it is. And I don't have any problem with 55. I'm maintaining it.
Okay.
I don't know anybody drives 30 on
Well,
on any
I'm just going by
caliche
what,
road.
I'm just going by what TAC or the transportation code is called for, and it calls for cleachy roads to be the minimum on them, or the maximum is 30 unless otherwise posted. And it's the same thing on either state handbook, your driver's license, in the residential area, it's 30.
Oh, I agree. My residential area should be there, even paved.
So
But in this case, I think for that first mile, that 55 is certainly better than what they're doing. I think you're going to get you go a mile at 30 miles an hour out in the country like that, I think you're going to get some feedback that you don't really want. Now, it's up to the commissioner's court to do it, and that's why we've got to bring, anytime we put a speed limit sign up, it has to be approved by commissioner's court. So,
He's on his James, but I was under the impression that cleachy roads were 40, paved were 60, and 30 as low as you could go on either one. Because I believe Mike Hartman, we addressed this when we did Cavender years ago, that was before you. So that's just my
I was
understanding.
wondering, because you were looking at me.
Yeah, it was, I'm just saying it was before you.
and I do remember
Yeah.
that statement about that. We are about to, as soon as we are able to get rock, we're about to chip seal. That's the next project up for our chip sealing program with the grant is 4131, that mile. And so it's going to be chip sealed just as soon as we can get the rock put on it. And so I don't really want to come back and ask for that to go from 30 to 55 at that time. So if the commissioner's court will allow it, I want to put 55 mile an hour on that road because they're certainly running a lot faster than that right now.
The people run faster than that when you get a chip seal.
And with a 55 mile an hour sign on there, the sheriff's department and our DPS can slow them down. Without those signs, they can't do
Right.
anything but stop them and ask them to slow down.
I mean, I don't care, it's, you're maintaining it, it's in jail's precinct, so.
Well, that mile is in Terry.
Well, it's not my precinct, half of it is.
A half
Half
of
that
it.
road is in my
That
precinct.
mile of it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Whatever.
the first mile.
Okay.
Yeah, some time back before me, they decided to allow a person in that area to run for precinct 1, and they brought that into the precinct 1.
Okay.
And so half the road is split right down the middle of 4131 from the bridge up to 180. That's why I've never had any problem maintaining it.
Okay.
We also do 4151 for the first mile, which is not in my precinct, but to help out.
Sure.
We do that as well. We just cleached it not long ago. So I'd make a motion to allow me
We're
this.
still in a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's
You're
all right.
right.
Any public comment? Ms. Summers?
So if you put a speed limit at one point that says 55, is the next precinct gonna post it that it's whatever it is at that next mile? Or you just gonna leave it up to people's guessing?
Well, that'll have to come back to Commissioner's Court if we want to post speed limit signs on that and do the same process for that part.
And we're not talking about the same type of road. Whenever you go past the bridge, it is way different.
Well, I mean, if I see a sign that says 50, I'm not just gonna go 50 for a mile and then say, oh, I'm supposed to be going 30 here.
If you've
I'm
ever
just
driven
saying-
that road, you won't go 50 on
I'm just
that
saying, You're
remainder,
wanting a sign that says 50 and then
55.
55 and then.
Yes. And
Mr.
it will be
Mitchell,
posted on both ends of that mile.
Mr. Mitchell, how much road remains from the bridge down to where that road tees back to the east-west?
It's about another mile.
So that's
I
roughly a
think it
2 mile
may be a
stretch.
little over a mile. It's probably a mile. and a half.
It is.
You don't have a precinct sign at the bridge that says precinct 1 and precinct 4, do you?
Nope.
So the application is that you put the 55 in.
No, there will be another sign at the bridge.
Oh, there will be.
But you have to have it on both the ends of the section of road that you're asking the Commissioner's Court to put that sign on. And so the distance will be 1 mile because it would have to come from precinct 4 to go further. And the court
You
would
know-
have to agree.
I'm looking at this agenda item. It does not say, well, it specifically states to consider the modification of speed limits on the following county roads. It doesn't say precinct 1 or precinct 4, or a portion thereof, is that it?
And so,
So realistically, I believe, and we can check with county attorney if we want to before going that direction, but it sounds like we could do the whole road, 55 or whatever,
you'd want to
precinct 4.
Yeah, well, you'd want to talk to him for sure, because, I mean, this is something that I put on the agenda, so, and I maintain that section of road, but I don't maintain the rest of it.
Right.
So possibly
It looks,
you could be right.
it looks as though that's
I
based
mean,
on the agenda item.
I guess if the commissioner wants to put a 30-mile-an-hour sign on the other side of the bridge and,
Well, that's where
or
you
40,
can change the classifications. The Commissioner's Court can change the classifications on these roads to where you can reduce, I'm not prepared to word this, but you can change it down to where you can lower it even lower than 30 miles an hour. You can also change the weight requirements, that's on these roads. Because 30 mile an hour is not even safe going from the bridge continuing south.
it's pretty rough.
It's the same thing over
If you would
where I
continue
live.
discussion.
Even where I live, it's not safe at 30 miles an hour. The truck, and that's because of the dust, these trucks come down that room and you just have to pull over and wait until the dust settles.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you're gonna do it, because when they come off of 180 and they start down there, they see a 55 mile an hour speed zone. How far is they gonna save for 1 mile underneath it?
The thing
Because I'm not gonna put a 30 mile at the end of it.
the DPS and sheriff's office will help them to determine that.
But how are the people gonna know, okay, I can drive 55 to the bridge
Mhm.
and then I have to slow down?
There's gonna be another sign at the bridge
What's they
stating
gonna say?
55 going the other way.
Okay, but what's what I'm saying? They come off of
Yeah.
180 and they see 55. Where does it stop? How are they gonna know where it stops?
Right now, there is no sign, so they go at whatever speed they want to. And so most of those people are people that live out there that you're talking about, or that travel that road all the time, so they already know. All we're trying to do is to get it to where we can get DPS or sheriff's office to be able to give them tickets if they're going to run faster than that.
But that's the other thing. If you put a 55 mile an hour speed limit
Mhm.
over here and you don't say speed limit or speed zone stops here, they're gonna continue to drive whatever they want to. Well, down there,
I mean-
that's not right for the people that live down there.
That's up to you to decide on what's gonna be on the other side of the bridge then.
It's not on the agenda.
May I ask what the budgetary impact is to simply put a reduced speed ahead sign on the 1 mile, indicating that in the 1 mile stretch, you're gonna have a reduced speed down to whatever you believe, or whatever TxDOT or whomever the governing authority is, to simply put an additional
It
sign that
has to
says
go
reduced
through
speed ahead?
Commissioner's Court to
Yeah.
post it.
You'd
And,
want to,
and I don't have it on the agenda because there was no other discussion or until here.
I'm not sure of the speed limit signs that you can't put reduced speed or slow or rough road or anything like that. I think it's only speed limits.
Matt, may I ask a question, please?
Yes.
The road is 2.5 miles long.
Yes, sir.
The entire road is.
If you turn off Avenue E and go to College Avenue, that's basically 2 miles. It's 50 miles an hour there. Takes very little time to get there. Why can't the speed limit be posted through the whole road at 30 or 35 miles an hour? If the road is really that bad on the other side of the bridge, as he says, why can't the whole road be 30, 35? It's not gonna take that long to go across 2 miles.
Those people that are driving that road are not going to agree with you.
Well, I live on 23rd Street. They think it's the Audubon over there. I can't get nobody.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
What difference does it make?
I'm not trying to get a political
Well,
blowback.
I understand, but I'm just saying, if it's as dangerous as he says it is on the other side, when they turn off a 180, why don't they automatically just have it at 35?
Well, that's what I say, the political blowback from that, from the people that travel that road all the time is going to be horrendous, and I'm the one that's going to get it.
Well, you ought to be used to it by now, Terry.
Well, I should be, but I don't want to do something, I drive those roads all the time, I don't run 30
Sure. I
down that
understand.
road, because it's down to the bridge, it's a great road. Now, whenever I get across that bridge, I know that 55 don't work, and so does everybody that lives out there.
Exactly.
And they already know that, just like 23rd. Now, I've got 25 mile an hour posted out here in north of Huffman Avenue. And they still don't drive 25. They don't drive 30. They're driving 50 and 60 down those roads. And I have to call DPS regularly, as well as Sheriff's Department, to go out and help us slow those people down. And so you can post 35, they're not going to run it. And you're gonna get a bunch of tickets out there, and then people are gonna say, well, what's wrong with you? We can take it off the agenda. I mean, if there's that much problem with it.
So I just spoke to the county attorney, and yes, you can, since it's the way it's worded,
So 4131
4131.
can be
You
done.
can, we can do it in this meeting. You can set one speed limit for one precinct and one precinct or one speed limit for the other in this meeting. And he did that.
Well, if we can do that, what's the lowest that we can go?
I didn't ask that question. I mean, this is up to y'all.
But I'm gonna, just for the simple, and here goes, used to, and you don't see it anymore, and I don't know what happened. I used to have truck speed limit at one speed, vehicles were another speed. And I don't have a problem with cars because the road is fixing to get fixed. It's not gonna be paved, but it is gonna be re-cleated, and it's gonna be 2 lanes instead of a half a lane. But I'm thinking, if we can do at least 25 is what I'm thinking.
Well, I don't know. If you can, do you have your phone with you? I didn't bring mine with me. If somebody could look up transportation code, county road speed limits.
Is it minimum 30 on the Caliche Road?
I think, but he just said he had a 25 mile an hour speed limit, what threw me off.
Who did?
Now, that's not Click Road, that's a neighborhood, just like
Yeah.
what they're talking about on 23rd.
I think you can do 30 as a minimum on that, so you can do that. If you
Well, I'll
want
go
to
30, and then if we have issues, we'll bring it back when we find out more, but if we can put, from the bridge south is 30, and from the bridge back north,
From the precinct line. Or is it right at the precinct?
It's right at the bridge.
Right, bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, bridge. South. 30,
yes.
and north. 55. Okay, any further?
So the first mile, 4131 is gonna be 55. The second mile of that is gonna be 30.
southbound.
Southbound.
I wouldn't go by mile because it may be,
Yeah.
Might be a little bit,
right, I would
It's
go
gonna
with,
be more than a mile to the end of 4131.
from the
So-
bridge.
from the bridge.
You can't do that
To the
either,
south
because it
end.
makes a jog and it's another
So
two
yeah, how
and
am
a
I
half
gonna
miles
determine?
to 4114.
So that 10 years from now, we know what we said.
Yeah,
Yeah, put it to the end of 4131, 330.
okay, from the bridge south to the end of 4131.
That would be County Road 4131, speed limit changed to 30. Because that's what we did the calendar, because it was 40, and we changed it to 30. And
They know that.
80 is the optimum speed for most people.
Motorcycle,
Yeah.
for instance, right?
Yeah.
That wound up in the barbed wire.
All right, any more public discussion on the speed limits here? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 10:22. Okay. Now consider modifying speed limits only of mentioned county roads, and I'll let one of you make the motion as you see fit.
Okay, since I got 3 roads on here besides that one, make a motion that on CR 1101, CR 1105, and the first mile of CR 4131, and Camp Springs Road be set at 55.
Okay,
Then the south of the bridge, or 1 mile after,
I would just say south of the
okay,
bridge
south of bridge
to the end of,
to the end of 4131 will be 30 miles an hour.
That's second.
all in favor?
Wasn't that easy?
I wouldn't want to be you.
All right, court to consider accepting donations to county entities. Senior Center, $712.50, $4,410. So a little over $5,000. And that's the only one.
To make a motion to accept donations to county entities, Senior Citizens Center, to be exact.
Second. All in favor? Court to consider approval of treasurer's monthly report for June and do personnel.
You don't have my monthly report due to
No,
the
we don't. Yeah.
crashing of the
All
software.
right, so
We are currently reconciling, so I should have it June and July and August.
Okay.
But you have the personnel report of all the personnel changes and overtime and comp time that was given out in June.
Okay.
Any questions? I haven't updated.
I'll make the motion to approve the monthly personnel
It's
information report.
Maybe.
All in favor? All right, court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of supplement payment from TAC for MVD supplement claim on sheriff transport vehicle.
And these are, both of, one, well, they were both deer, right? Both of them were deer accidents. One on one of the trucks, on the sheriff truck, and one was on the transport vehicle. So the insurance obviously picked up the claim on it, but one's for $4,217.07 and the other one is $702.56. There will be a budget amendment presented to you for that. Do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead and let's do all of them.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
several. Go ahead and do them all.
Funds of sales from assets and, yes, do, go ahead and do them.
Okay, the next is the sale of assets. This was, I believe, metal that was sold in precinct for 4420. Just wasn't budgeted for sale of assets, so will also be a budget amendment placing that. The next one is the sale of assets for metal that was in the Parks Department. They sold us not an iron and metal, and they're for 208.75. There will also be a budget amendment placing that into their expense lines. This next one is EMS grant funds that they received for the ambulance from TDSHS. He had came to court to ask for permission to apply for the grant to get the new ambulance in a motor or transmission engine for is $217,600.38, which we have received in, and there will also be a budget amendment for that. The next one is the second tranche of the American Recovery Plan funds. It's $1,622,181. And then the final one is sale of assets for the van for the senior center for $400, and there will be a budget amendment placing that in the expense line.
Okay. Any questions, comments, discussion on any of these?
Black money.
I make the motion that we certify all of the revenues that were listed.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Well, the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, do you want to do them individually then?
Yes.
Okay, so, certification of additional revenues in the form of supplemental payment. This is my motion, or to consider, or to accept certification of additional revenue from TAC.
That's for the sheriff's trucks.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Court to consider 2 certifications of additional revenues in the form of funds from sale of assets. That's the metal sales. And that's I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to certify additional revenues in the form of grant from TDSHS.
Second.
All in favor? Did I miss any so far?
The middle of the part,
I did both of those.
those go together?
Yes, ma'am. Since they were under the
The
same.
next one is the American Recovery money, and then the senior center one is the I.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do the senior center. I'll make the motion to certify additional revenues of full funds from the sale of assets from the senior center.
Second.
All in favor? All right, I'll make the motion to certify the additional revenues in the form of second tranche funds distributed to counties for American Rescue Plan.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, court to discuss and consider designating the American Rescue Plan funding as lost revenue. Okay, and I have a resolution, and we have a lot on the here. So, with these funds, they said they had to be used under certain COVID guidelines. In the final, what was that called? The final rule, yes. They said that if you receive 10 million or less, you can consider it as lost revenue. Across the board, that's every city, county, entity that got it across the nation. It can be considered as lost revenue. That's the rules that came out from Treasury. In doing that, you are allowed to pretty much put it into your budget and use it for whatever. However, my thought is if we consider this as lost revenue, we still keep it as a completely separate budget and still follow those original guidelines and use it for those under those guidelines instead of just putting it into our budget and using it for whatever, like a loader.
I will, just one caveat, I mean.
Sure.
Because it was over $750,000, it falls under the single file audit guidelines. So therefore it will have to be tracked separately anyways. Due to that reasoning, the auditors, when they come in, they're gonna wanna see everywhere, if anything's spent, where it is spent, and tie it back to that funds.
Right.
So leaving it in Fund 49 is better tracking tool.
Okay, thank you. That's absolutely correct. I appreciate that information. So in doing this, the chances of them coming and looking from was it $1.4 trillion, looking at $3.2 million, the chances are extremely slim. And then if they do look, as long as I feel like as long as we're following those original guidelines, the chance of them trying to take that money back are even slimmer. So, accepting these funds and using it, it's money that if we didn't accept it, it would go somewhere else. If we consider it lost revenue, we can use it in these certain areas. And I have a resolution that would follow that. So, any discussion on considering it as lost revenue or designating it as lost revenue?
I just I don't feel like that if we had $10 million at the bank, this is not gonna make any sense. We would have the ability to pay it back if they did come back and request it.
Okay. As it stands, we do have at least 3.2 million in the bank, and if we had to, we could pay it back.
And so I'm
But
not willing to take that chance.
Okay. I don't believe that they'll come back and come after it. Not out of $1.4 trillion. I think they'll go after Houston or.
They may not, you don't know that they're not, I don't know that they will, but
Right.
I'll always err on the side of caution. So that's my fault.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wonder why, because there's several municipalities that have rejected this, and because they found strings that are attached to this, and I just don't want Scurry County being responsible. If there is an audit, or if there's things that come down the line further, and yeah, free money would be great, but I just.
What type of strings?
It goes back to these mandated vaccinations, when it comes from the federal government, that there was lots of, I'm not gonna say litigation, but there was concerns from the municipalities that the government could come in here and say, hey, you took our money, now you're gonna start shutting stuff down, you're gonna have your employees, because they're now following the federal guidelines, because you took our money, and you're gonna make sure they get vaccinated.
See what you're saying there. However, they tried that with OSHA. They put that mandate under OSHA. It was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So that's been knocked out. Every grant that we apply for has some type of stipulation that we have to follow through there. So, I mean, we do follow those guidelines whenever we have to. I know EMS and Health Department have both expressed what those concerns were and that they do follow those guidelines whenever they put them out. I don't know that, I think with that ruling about OSHA being unconstitutional to do the mask mandate, that lends a lot of credence to. It helps us out a lot on that aspect. So, Jason, did you have something?
Yes, about the vaccinations, we're compliant with that. As far as the EMS goes, we're the only ones that have been in the county that have been mandated to do that. We follow the rules and guidelines for that. Second of all, I've got an approved list of supplies and equipment by the government that has a code that I've sent to Sean already, that basically states the audit requirements, numbers to use with the equipment bought with those funds. I feel perfectly comfortable spending that free money that we got on equipment that's approved by that list. And there's no reason why we should reject free money instead of the taxpayers in this county paying for it. I think that's ignorant.
With the certification of those funds just a moment ago, didn't we just accept those funds?
Yes, sir. This would be considering it as lost revenue. It goes one more step towards covering our bases for Treasury if they ever decided to do any type of audit for us.
Would it be appropriate at this time to ask the county clerk to include a link to those mandate or those guidelines that you referenced a moment ago in the minutes of today's meeting, just so the public could view those?
We could definitely put a link on our website for that.
Are you talking about the final rule?
He had, your recommendation a moment ago was to basically to justify or to cover our basis for audit, to follow the guidelines that were set out regardless if we certified as lost revenue or not.
Mhm.
Those guidelines that you're referencing is what I was referring to.
Right, yeah, and that's under the, how did it word that? It wasn't the final rule, it was the something final rule, it was interim final rule.
Thank you for
So,
that.
yeah, I'll put a link for both of those.
Thank you.
I think with the treasury saying that this is one of the things that can be done because of the amount that it is, that it's something that, I mean, anything that you spend that money for, they can come back on, they can audit you for it. And if treasury is stating that this can be used for this reason, then it makes sense to me that that's one of the reasons that they give to use it for. And so we should be able to do that.
Now, I'm hearing of other areas using it for things that don't fit under the original guidelines. And that's not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm still suggesting use it under the original guidelines
Yes.
to eliminate that chance. So do you have any thoughts?
Well, it's like Jason said, I mean, even with any kind of grant, they can come back on it.
And you did receive money from that specifically, didn't you?
$175,000, yes. But that's through HHS. It's a different branch of HHS.
Right, but it's
That
the
we-
same funds, correct?
It's same type of funds, yes. It's still COVID-related funds that you got to spend on that type of equipment. That's why I've got the list. It shows you the audit numbers, the description of the item, and that it's approved to spend those type of funds on those equipment lists. That's why I personally feel perfectly comfortable with it. I've got the emergency management officer and them kid for the state of Texas that's saying the same things that I'm saying, who's right underneath the governor. I'm just telling you what I'm being reported to as a EMS director with capital equipment that needs to be purchased.
Right. He has said, do not send those funds back.
He has
They
said
will
that,
go
yes.
somewhere
He
else.
said, yes, do not send it. They can be used to help benefit the taxpayer of your community and the capital equipment and whatever else you designate those funds for.
Ms. Summers?
What I was reading on this is the lost revenue goes back into the general fund, and then which just references Fund 49. Are those the same thing?
Fund 49 is this fund we set up to track this separately. Which goes back to what you just said earlier, is if y'all sign the resolution, we could put it in the general, but you're saying you don't want to, we track it separately.
Right.
And continue to keep it in Fund 49.
Correct.
It could go, but you're still my office would still have to track it separately because of the single file audit guidelines.
Right. So it wouldn't go back to general fund, it would go to Fund 49. It didn't.
That's what I was referring to, though. What I've been reading on it, it said that the lost revenue meant it went into a general fund. So to me, that we're already confusing this by saying it's not going to the general fund, it's going to 49. I'm just trying to clarify
Sure.
what I've read is saying the lost revenue goes into a general fund.
Okay, but they're also stating that you have to track it separately. So, I mean, it's still Fund 49 is just a specific fund in there for it. So I would rather be safe.
Oh, yeah, but I was just clarifying because when I was reading on it, it did say that to consider it lost revenue, it goes into the general fund.
Okay, I'll have to look at the specific wording on that because you know how it gets with what the law language.
I wanted it in 49 to be tracked,
Sure.
but also in reading up on this, it did mention that lost revenue went to the general fund.
Sure. I'll check on the specific wording on that, but I believe they also state in there that you put it into a
Okay.
specific. More thoughts? Any questions? Okay, I'll make the motion to designate the ARPA funds as lost revenue.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Are you opposed or?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll get this cleaned up and then y'all re-sign it if you would. Sign the check, yes or no. All right, court judge, consider approval of line item transfers and budget amendments.
There are several.
Just the short stuff.
The line item transfers are precinct 1, 10,000 into tires and tube repairs, 5,000 out of operating supplies, 5,000 out of road material and construction, replacing tires, and as we all know, everything's gone way up. Precinct 3, maintenance and repair, 15,000 out of road material and construction for cost of some repairs to equipment. Precinct 4, tires and tubes, 20,000 out of road material and construction, getting the trucks into the DOT compliance with the tires. Precinct 4, maintenance and repair, 25,000 out of road material and construction. Transmission was out on a truck, and so we got that repaired. Airport tires, 1816 out of resales. Replace a tractor tire. That's all of the line item transfers.
Okay.
The budget amendment is the jail and the sheriff department. One of the vehicle expense that we certified earlier, it was $4,217.07. That was for the jail, for the transport. I think these are actually backwards. That should be for the sheriff department, for the truck. The 702.56, is that right, Trey? Was
They
it
both should be
42?
on there, so.
Yes, but it's, your jail car, we pay you everything out of jail for your transport.
Oh, you did it through 512?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the 4217
Yes,
for the transport vehicle?
yeah. Is that the,
That was the
is that
higher
our
expense
expense
one,
line? Yes, that was for the car.
yeah. Okay, so 4217 is the jail and 702.56 was for the sheriff truck. Then senior center putting the 400 that we just certified into her operating expense line. Parks department putting the 208.75 from sale of the metal into their maintenance repair miscellaneous expense line. Road and Bridge Precinct 3, maintenance and repair, 90,000, repair to 2 motor graders, 1 transmission, 1 motor.
Go ahead.
We have a maintainer with the motor out of it, the one with the transmission out of it.
Okay.
600 grand to replace them both. I fixed both of them for $90,000, that's what I'm gonna do.
That would make sense.
That's a good reason to lease, and keep these machines under full warranty. Where the van, but it's too late, yeah.
Yeah, these are the older ones.
It's too late.
It's, the issue is the lease payments keep coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Every year, this is one time,
Yeah, you hope.
all right, let's live.
Another motor and transmission.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Road and Bridge Precinct 4, the 4420 that we certified earlier going to operating supplies. And then the EMS, the $600,638 that we certified going for the new ambulance.
Thank you. Do I need to make any adjust?
No, it was
It
right.
was right, okay.
Yes, I was thinking, I was mixing the vehicles up when I was reading.
Gotcha, okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the budget amendments.
All in favor? Okay, accounts payable.
Accounts payable is $976,761.60.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
All in favor?
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate all the
Okay,
input.
that's it. Section 251, 154 of the Transportation Code states that a Commissioners Court of a county by order entered on the